When it comes to end times prophecy, one of the most commonly held beliefs is that the tribulation period lasts 7 years. But what if I told you this understanding might not be entirely accurate? In this video, we'll look to the scriptures to uncover why the tribulation is actually 3.5 years long, starting when the Antichrist is given authority over the saints. Let's explore this truth together. Before I jump in, I want to say thanks for joining me today. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe and share with those you love. I believe the time is running out and Jesus is coming back soon, so please share so these videos can reach as many people as they can. The idea of a 7-year tribulation comes mostly from Daniel 9:27, where it speaks of a covenant being confirmed for 1 week, interpreted as 7 years. Many believe this week represents the entirety of the tribulation. Now, the covenant is a topic for another video, but does the Bible explicitly state that the entire 7 years are filled with tribulation and persecution? Not exactly, so let's dig a little bit deeper. Daniel 9:27 mentions the covenant being confirmed for 1 week, but it's crucial to note that in the middle of the week, the sacrifice and offerings are stopped, and the abomination of desolation is set up. For many people, the belief is that right here at this midpoint is when the Antichrist breaks the covenant and begins his reign of terror. There's another reading or another understanding to this, however, and I'll get to that in a different video. Revelation 13:5 gives us the exact duration of the Antichrist's authority, 42 months, or 3.5 years. This is the period when the saints are handed over to the beast and he exerts his power. These passages align perfectly, showing us that the time of the Great Tribulation begins in the middle of the 7 years and only lasts for 3.5 years. Jesus himself provides a timeline in Matthew 24. He warns of the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel and says it marks the beginning of the Great Tribulation. There is no mention of the tribulation covering the entire 7 years. Instead, it begins at the midpoint and corresponds to the 42 months of Revelation. The Bible frequently emphasizes a period of 3.5 years when discussing end times events. Daniel 7:25 speaks of the saints being given into the Antichrist's hand for time, times, and half a time, another way of saying 3.5 years. Revelation 11, verses 2 and 3 mention the same period as 42 months, or 1260 days. This consistency throughout Scripture reinforces the idea that the intense persecution and tribulation is limited to 3.5 years. So what does this mean for us as believers? Well, first we need to be vigilant and discerning. Misunderstanding the timeline can lead to confusion about what to expect in the end times. By correctly identifying the 3.5-year tribulation period, we can better understand God's plan and prepare our hearts for what's to come. Second, this understanding should give us hope. Even in the darkest times, God's timeline is precise, and his promises are sure. The tribulation is limited in scope and duration, and the Antichrist's reign will eventually come to an end when Jesus returns in glory. The idea of a 7-year tribulation is widespread, but the Bible paints a different picture. The Great Tribulation, the time of intense persecution, is only 3.5 years long, beginning when the Antichrist is given authority over the saints. By rightly understanding the word of truth, the Bible, and Jesus' words, we can find clarity and confidence in God's plan for the end times. Thank you so much for joining me as we read through some of these scriptures. If you find this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Let's continue to seek God's wisdom together. Until next time, God bless.